Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with the next episode in our learning C# tutorial series, and this time I wanted to go ahead and see if we can get health working. So, I'm not sure if I wanted to make it so we have a health system, or maybe if you only have one life. Um, let's see here. I was kind of thinking of the direction I wanted this game to go would be like a mixture between Mario and Metroid, so it's like left and right jump. You can jump on people to destroy them, or if you have ammunition, maybe you could like shoot some sort of weapon at them, um, something along those lines. And because of the way the game is styled, I'm thinking you should have at least one life, one extra life. I'm meaning. So we'll go ahead and do this. I'm just thinking of how I want to display it later on, but for now we can just do a really simple GUI. So before we actually do any collision and checking to see when to subtract health, we'll go ahead and set up the health in the first place. So under our player folder, let's make a new class. We're going to call this player health. Or, I really didn't want to go into this so soon, but I guess it can't be helped. So we'll make a new folder, and let's call this damageable. Sorry about that, guys. So where was I? I'm trying to think of where I want to put this. Instead, let's put it in the utilities folder. Make a new class, and we'll call it I. Let's call it iHealth. And if you're unfamiliar with C# naming conventions, normally when something begins with an I, it stands for interface. Usually. So we'll make using Unity Engine. Now, we're going to learn a new keyword today. Public abstract class iHealth. And we're going to inherit from MonoBehavior. Not sure why my computer's so laggy right now. What am I running? I don't know, it has its random fits. And basically what an abstract class is, this is something that we cannot attach to a game object because it's abstract. This is something that has to be inherited. For instance, the MonoBehavior, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure... no, this is just a virtual method then. An abstract class is something that you cannot attach to a game object, but it can be inherited by other scripts. So later on we can make multiple scripts inherit from iHealth. However, if you want to check to see if anything takes damage, for instance on collision, I want to call do damage whether it's a player or an enemy, This way I don't have to do checks to see, if it's a player, check if it has this player script, or if it's an enemy, check and see if it has this enemy script. It's really unorganized, so this is the best way to do it. We can do a public void do damage, if I can spell damage right, taking in an int for the damage. Okay, that's about it. Now, let me explain this a little bit. So public void do damage looks about the same. Then we're taking in, I say taking in, but then you can notice inside these parentheses, which have normally always been empty, we have stuff inside. And not only that, is instead of having curly braces, we now have just a semicolon. And that's the reason, is because I'm saying that's why you can't attach this to a game object, is because all of its methods here cannot do anything. They have to end in semicolons here. That is because when we inherit from this class, before we can use it, you have to implement this number, and I'll show you that at the end of this tutorial if we get around to it. So when I was saying this takes in an int called damage, whenever something calls do damage, we have to pass in information to this function. So just like remember when we were doing in here move, we're doing move and passing in this value, the direction times the speed times the time unit. It's the same thing. When we call this function, it'll look like, obviously not in here, but just for the sake of it, it'll look like, I don't know, health dot do damage. Obviously it's a static method, so I can't do it now, and then we'll pass in an integer. So let's do 5 damage or something. I don't know. That's what that would look like. Okay, and that's a very simple abstract class, and that's what we're going to keep it for right now. Next, inside of our player script, we'll go ahead and add in a new class. We'll call this, whoops, player health. Rather, we're going to go ahead and just do, inside of the utilities class, once again, we'll make a new script, and we're going to call this generic health. Make a public class, call it generic health, and we're going to inherit from iHealth. Now if I stop, let it compile for a second, you won't get any red lines, but if I go into Unity, this will pop up an error, and that is because iHealth, whoops, forgot another keyword here. All your methods do have to be called abstract for this to work. You notice you'll have to implement the abstract class, and this looks like that. So don't be too intimidated. It's not that complicated. So what this is basically it forces you to have a method of the same name inside this function here, so that whenever this do damage is called, whatever type it actually is, which in this case is generic health, it'll do the generic health do damage from here. And that's just what override means. It just means override the base class, which is iHealth. So just don't worry about it. It's not too complex. Alright, so inside here, we can actually do our health calculations. So we'll do, we'll have a public int max health, and then we'll have a private int health. Now our max health, let's default that to 3, and our health will default that to 3 as well. Oh, whoops. And then just as a backup, in our start method, we'll go ahead and set health equal to max health. So if you haven't caught on by now, health is going to be our actual health value, while max health will be the max health we can have. So let's say, you know, there's a power up, and you can restore health or something like along those lines. We know where to restore it to. Next, in our do damage function, we'll do health minus equals damage, if you remember that minus equals operator, and then we can do a check. If health is less than 1, then let's destroy game object. Now both of these are built into mono behavior, and that's another thing I want to keep in mind, is it'll follow this chain all the way down for inheritance. So even though this is not a mono behavior, and it inherits from iHealth, which in turn inherits from a mono behavior. So not only do we inherit iHealth, we also inherit mono behavior. And destroy is just a method for destroying game objects, okay? And then game object here, this is passed in. This is a reference to our own game object, so our own game object will be destroyed if our health is less than 1. Alrighty. I'm going to end the video here because I don't want to get it too long, and I would test it to you guys, but unfortunately in our next video we have to actually do the collision and call these do damage functions. But until then, I will see you guys next time.